Good evening, fellow heretics. Welcome to another episode of Nerds and Heresy. Your my co-host is not usually. Let me just start all over. That was a nightmare. Wow. Professionalism, just pure professionalism here. My co-host, Crimson Barrel, is not with us again. He is in the process of moving to another state, so he might be MIA for the next week or so. But at the last minute, Genevieve and Mr. Dave Warnock came on. And my guest tonight is Mr. Stephen Walker, who needs no introduction. He has twice the amount of followers as I do. And I'm super excited to have him on. I was on his show last week, and he agreed to come on mine this week. So, Steve, why don't you take the next few minutes and just tell everybody who may not know who you are, whatever it is you'd like them to know about you.
Sure. You said I have twice as many followers. I have a theory that they're all bots. They're probably not real people. So
I think they're bots.
Yeah, they're not real. But anyway, yeah. My name's Steven. I think in the beginning of the video you just played, it said Stephen Walker Wildcard. What does that mean?
Crimson made him the wild card because there's not a topic.
Oh, okay. I guess
I was like, is that my new nickname on the streets? Wild card. That sounds edgy.
Yeah, I think because we didn't actually have a topic. My co-host set up the podcast or the show.
Word. Gotcha. Cool. Yeah, Stephen Walker. I'm on the old TikTok as official Stephen Walker. It's interesting. I started a couple years ago as a joke because most people, that's why they start TikTok, is because of a joke. But anyway, it just kind of took off. I think my parenting videos are what took off. Like, I'd make jokes about being a parent and have my kids in it. And of course, you also have Karens that say I'm a terrible father or whatever, but that's just always going to happen. But anyway, so I got kind of somewhat trending because of my parent videos. And then I did some random comedy videos, just trying to work some stuff out. And then I have a character named Cancel Carl. I just walk around and cancel stuff that's absurd. And I don't really do it as much anymore because I started to hate that character, because every time you make a character on any sort of platform, everyone always asks for that character, and you just feel the need to keep making the same content, and it just gets old. But anyway, so yeah, TikTok, that's pretty much the only thing that I'm quote unquote famous for. I mean, I'm on Instagram and I have a YouTube channel. I have a YouTube channel for spirituality, kind of chronicles my deconstruction journey. And then I have my own podcast that I started at the beginning of this year called Crossing Lines. And it's basically just my attempt to chat with people that think differently than I do or are on a different path of life. And just kind of my attempt to bring some sort of unity in this crazy world. So I'm married to a woman. I had 2 kids, a girl and a boy. I know, right? I'm so whatever. But yeah, I have a 2-year-old daughter and a 4-year-old boy, and they're both insane and amazing at the same time. It's that parental dichotomy or paradox, if you will. But yeah, that's pretty much everything about me. I play music. I'm a musician somewhat. So yeah. That's all
do you have any music up on like SoundYard or anything?
No, I
just a hobby.
Just a hobby. So
okay, cool. Well, yeah. Hard to say where to go from here because I have 2 guest co-hosts who agreed to come in at the last minute, Mr. Dave Warnock and Genevieve. And you guys are, real quick, planning on starting a podcast yourselves, right? So
yeah,
do you want to take a minute and tell everyone what that's about?
You go first, Genevieve, and then I'll follow up from you.
Yeah, sure. The podcast has been in the works for a couple months now. Dave actually reached out to me and asked to co-host a podcast with him. I want to say 2 weeks after I filmed my first TikTok, which was just insane to me. But we've been going back and forth, curating our guest list and figuring out all the kinks. And we are hoping to launch, I think, by the middle to maybe end of this month. So I am very excited for that. As we were kind of discussing before we went on here, it's going to be sort of covering a breadth of topics centered around religion, but going into science, current events, politics, what have you. So I am very excited.
Me too.
Yeah.
What's your handle on TikTok, Genevieve?
I am just Genevieve's TikTok. Yeah.
Straight to the point. I love it.
Straight to the point. Well, actually, I think before, because just like everybody else, I made my TikTok as a joke. I want to say, and this is really embarrassing, but my first TikTok handle was literally just like butt muncher for like no reason. Like, and
Shout
then
out to the early 2000s.
I know, yeah. I don't even think I used vowels, but then once I realized that people are going to be seeing this, I was like, okay, like maybe I should, tone it down a little bit. It's going from like the Weedman420 at Gmail to like Bob Smith. Grown up a little bit.
I had that issue too when I first started with my handle, and I started like getting a lot of attention. And I made a video one day. I was like, okay, apparently I'm an internet celebrity or something now. I was like, should I change my name to something a little more relevant to my niche? And everyone was like, no, I'm not here for your name. I'm here for your content. So don't change your name. We love your name. I was like, okay, I guess I'll keep my name. But like, yeah, my handle is I kind of just made just for the fuck of it, and now it's like my entire identity on the internet.
That's all you are. Is you are Captain Dadpool. You don't even have a name.
I don't.
For the longest time, I didn't even know what your name was. I'll step in now. Dave Warnock. My thing is Dying Out Loud. I think that's my TikTok handle. I'm not even sure. And TikTok was, I was kind of, Bevan, my girlfriend, had been trying to get me on there a while, and then I had some other followers of mine say, you should get on TikTok. You'd be perfect for it, blah, blah, blah. And I just thought it was teenage girls dancing, and shit. I thought it was just goofy shit. And I said, no fucking way I'm going on TikTok. Good God. It's got the worst name in the world, TikTok. What the hell is that?
Yeah.
Anyway, I did get on there. I met Dadpool. I met Genevieve. And I've just had some great connections and great conversations. And Genevieve's right. I saw her. I don't know what it was. At first saw her do, but I thought, God damn, this girl's brilliant. And I just thought I need to connect with her. And I loved the idea of this old fart. Used to be me. That's me. This old fart man used to be an evangelical Christian, and the contrast of a young female who didn't ever buy into the fundamentalist idea, and having that contrast looking at ideas. And I thought that was a really fresh approach to things. And I think we can bring a lot of different things to the table. And like she said, we're going to talk not just about deconstruction. There's a lot of shows doing that, but about current events and things that are in the news. And we'll have special guests on each week around a certain topic. Like I've got a cop friend of mine in Nashville, and we need to talk about the police issue in this country, and so he's very woke around that issue, and just for instance, I mean, things like that. So I'm looking forward to it. I don't know what the hell I'm doing with it, so it's going to be a learning process, and I'm going to count on people who are smarter than me. I've got some friends who are willing to produce it and do all those things, and so hopefully all we have to do is show up and talk. So that's kind of something I'm really looking forward to. Other than that, I've been doing Dying Out Loud for those for those viewers who don't know who I am and what I do. I've been doing a thing called Dying Out Loud for a couple of years now. For 6 or 8 years, I was just a deconstructed Christian pastor living an atheist life and minding my own business. Then I got diagnosed with ALS, which is a terminal disease. And when that event happened a little over 2 years ago, I really kind of wanted to start talking about things that are important to me. And Dying Out Loud sprang forth from that. And it really is just a lot of stuff I talk about living and dying. It's called Dying Out Loud, but it's really more about living out loud and living your best life, grabbing the moments and being present and aware, and looking at life and death as an atheist, as opposed to the former view that I had as a Christian, and just a lot of those kind of things. And so it just kind of took off, and I've been connecting with people all around the world and having shows that I do and traveling and speaking before COVID anyway. And so that's kind of my thing. DaveOutloud.com is the website if you want to know more about that.
Yeah, Dave has a unique story in that when he deconstructed, which those of us who have deconstructed know that you go through a sort of like existential crisis where you feel like life is meaningless. What is all this? Then Dave got the terrible news that he has this terminal illness, almost the same time. And so, like, Dave, your reaction to that is like very inspiring, because you realize that no, this doesn't take meaning away from life. It actually adds meaning to life, because now I'm motivated to get the most out of it that I can. So you travel a lot. You interact with people. Like, you're not shy about interacting with people at all.
No, yeah, I do. I take a lot of delight in meeting people in person that I've connected with online. We just got back from Chicago. We went to a Lou Gehrig day at the ballpark. Major League Baseball had a Lou Gehrig day. ALS is known as Lou Gehrig's disease. And so they were calling attention to it at ballparks all around the country. So we went to Chicago to connect with some ALS people that we've known online. And while I was there, I also connected with some fellow atheists that I've been wanting to meet, that I've been connected to online. And funny enough, we just met, but I just did the atheist experience filling in for Matt Dillahunty because he was sick. And
Wow.
the co-host there was a guy that I just met, Kenneth Leonard, in Chicago on Friday. And we were there saying, hey, man, we need to do a show together. And as it turned out, we both had to pinch hit today. So I just love connecting with people. I just think it's a high for me. And Bevan and I did a road trip out west. Well, not west, but in the Midwest, Arkansas and Texas and Oklahoma, and met a bunch of people. So to me, the human experience is about connecting with people. That's where I find value.
Yeah.
I don't even know if Matt Dillahunty knows who I am yet.
He will soon enough.
Like, I've been on Neil's show. I met Aaron Raw. I had a little conversation with him, but still haven't met Matt Dillahunty. He's managed to evade my charm.
Now we'll get you on one of these times. I'm an official co-host now, so I may can get you on there, man.
Oh, it's official now.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we wanted to talk about. I guess we'll start with mental health. Thanks everyone for the introductions. Yeah, check out what everyone's got going on. Whoever's watching. But Steve, this is something interesting that you are only really uniquely the only person I can talk about, and that is mental health and the sudden realization that you're internet famous. So how has that affected your mental health? I have to ask. And that in balancing, your personal life and parenting and all that.
Well, it's weird because I don't necessarily consider myself famous, so I
don't either, but
it's like it's not real because I don't run into people all the time like, oh my gosh, it's you. Like every now and then I'll see somebody who knows who I am and we'll have a brief conversation, but I don't think it's really affected me that much. I mean, if anything, it's brought out what was already present, but maybe it has expounded it more, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. I'd say that I can relate to that. Definitely.
It's like money doesn't make you an asshole, but if you're an asshole, you'll be a bigger asshole with lots of money. So it's the same thing with some sort of fame. If I'm a certain way, that will be amplified.
I'd say I was more shy about my inherent personality before, but now I'm much more comfortable with it. So for me, it's like I'm more like, has this been better for my mental health or worse for my mental health? Because I'm also extruding a lot more of my energy and effort into interacting with people and satisfying the demands of some people. Like, you should do this, you should do that, and I'm like, okay, I should, and then I do it, and I'm like, I'm really spreading myself thin. But at the same time, I'm like, I'm enjoying it. It adds like meaning to my life. I feel like I'm doing something that matters since, I'm a stay-at-home dad. I don't really have a lot of interaction with the outside world. So like ultimately it's a huge benefit to my mental health, I think.
Yeah. I try to be cautious because I'll see several or quite a few big name content creators on TikTok talk about how, they were in this depressive state and TikTok, quote unquote, saved them in certain ways because now they have a platform. Now they feel like people care about them, and that's fine. But that can also be like a burden because you feel the need to be something for people instead of yourself. So I just try to avoid that whole game. But it actually kind of makes me sad when I see those videos like, oh, TikTok made me feel valuable. Like maybe it did, but I don't want to fall into that because if I lose TikTok, then I lose my value, and I don't want that. So
Yeah.
Mhm.
Really, like for me, like I felt very alone when I first started because I was not active in the atheist skeptic community at all. But I was like an atheist for like 2 years, and then like suddenly I went viral on TikTok, and now I like have the community found me, and like welcomed me in with open arms, and like I have I have friends now. I haven't really met any of them in person, but like I have friends now. I have a community.
You met Genevieve.
Except for Genevieve,
Yeah.
Genevieve and Knevs.
Yeah.
But yeah, Genevieve came over our house a couple weeks ago, and that was a great time. She lives fairly close to us.
Yeah. Like
She's going to come over, and soon she's going to come over and watch our kids, so Rachel and I can go have some alone time.
your kids are awesome, and you desperately need it. So.
They're awesome for everyone except for us.
Well, you guys are talking about basically what you're talking about is a platform, and whatever affords you that platform, I think like you said, Steve, it's sad in a way to attach your identity to that, and that can be dangerous. I agree with that, but at the same time, there's a responsibility that comes with it, and I think it took me a little bit of time to embrace that because I didn't expect the Dying Out Loud thing to become what it did, but when I started hearing from people how it affected them and how it helped them, then I had to take it very seriously and realize that the platform that I'd been given, and it's really weird. It's odd to even think about because I wouldn't have been doing this if I hadn't have gotten it diagnosed with ALS. I would have just been a quiet atheist minding my business. But when I started talking about things that are important and it started having an effect on people, and people started finding inspiration in it and real help with their lives. We're talking about mental health. I've heard from people dealing with severe depression, with PTSD, with some serious mental health issues who found strength and inspiration in the things I talk about. And so I don't take that lightly. And so to be given this platform and to have the opportunity to do this is a great gift, and we can let it go to our heads, and we can get like we walked into this house in Tyler, Texas, and this dude who had followed me on TikTok, I can't remember his name by hand. I hope he didn't watch this because I forgot his name. Oh my God,
It's embarrassing.
As I walked in, he's just, oh my God, I can't believe this. He's right here. And Bevan just told me about it. I didn't hear it as much as she did. She told me later, and I said, oh my God. But to him, it was a big deal. It was like I was able to add value to his life in that moment. And that's really the essence of living, is the moments and the value that we bring to one another in those moments. So if TikTok has given you guys a platform like that, then it's a big fucking deal, and just seize it because it's helping people. It really is.
Yeah, I had a like when I first started gaining attention, I got a ton of DMs, and a lot of them were like, "You're really helping me through my deconstruction. Like you're helping me go through this depression. You're answering all the questions that nobody else can answer." And it was very nice. But at the same time, I had people like pouring out their life story to me, asking me for like, hey, I realized I'm gay, but I've been married for 10 years and I have 3 kids, and my wife wants me to stop being gay and go back to church. What do I do? And I'm like, I'm not a counselor. I'm just a guy from TikTok.
I have no credentials.
Yeah, exactly. Like that. This is not like, so like I had to disable my DMs publicly.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Which made me very sad to do because I really did enjoy receiving those messages. My cat is playing with my backdrop. Okay. But yeah, like Steve, can you relate to that? Did you experience anything like that?
On DMs, I've had my DMs off from the beginning because I'm married, and I just don't want to deal with that. If people want to get a hold of me, I leave my email in my bio, and then I have my Instagram DMs open. So if somebody actually wants to chat with me, then they can jump through those two hoops. But I don't have any DMs on. But I've had people reach out on Instagram for various things, sometimes seeking help, and I'd just give whatever advice I feel is adequate. So,
or ignore entirely. I do the same thing. Like my Instagram DMs are open publicly still, and I have a business email. Like, hey, that if you want me to come on your podcast, DM me here or email me here. But still on my Instagram, my favorite question I get is how do I learn everything that you know? Like, how am I supposed to answer? Go to college. Look, be a Christian for 15 years, then go to college for it. Study a lot on your own in addition to your education, and that's how you know. And watch a fuck ton of metric fuck ton of YouTube videos. But yeah, that's my favorite. It's just how do I learn everything that you know?
Have insomnia and stay up all night reading.
Yeah. Have ADD, have insomnia, have hyperactive anxiety disorder or whatever you want to call it.
A membership to Bart Ehrman's blog doesn't hurt either. So
I was going to ask you, Genevieve. You've read a lot of Ehrman, haven't you?
I have, yeah. I've pretty much mostly read a lot of Bart Ehrman. I know in high school I read Christopher Hitchens and Richard Dawkins, who I'm really pissed at right now. It was only, and we've talked about this before, but, last year for my birthday, I was gifted a Bible. And it was at the same time that I had realized that it's like, oh, it's not just that, you're a Christian, but it's just that, like, you think that Adam and Eve were literal and that, Genesis is a literal story, and you don't trust scientists because they're lying about evolution. So now you don't trust them about climate change. You don't really trust them about the pandemic. And it was then that I realized, oh, I should really see what's going on. But even reading the Bible is really difficult. I threw it across the room when I got to Genesis 3:16, where it says that women are punished with painful childbirth because Eve messed up. It's a very problematic book, but I found that I really am more interested in the story of who wrote it and why and how did it get put together and the history that kind of surrounds it. Because that's the stuff that people don't usually learn in church. They learn it in seminary, but they don't, that's not what your pastor's talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of Bart Ehrman, I'm working on getting him on the show, for those who didn't know. He has a fee of $1,000.
I wonder what his fee was.
Yeah, it was $1,000. So I have a GoFundMe in the link tree in my bio, it's called Beacons. It's a Beacons in my bio. And so far, we're up to like $558.
Nice.
So we'll get $1,000. We're going to have him on the show, and that's going to be super fun. But we have some questions coming up in the chats that I'd like to address, if y'all don't mind.
Let's do it.
Karaya Holly asks, what about passive suicidal thoughts? Not active plans to hurt yourself, but thinking if you could get in a car accident or things outside of your control.
Those thoughts Sorry, go ahead.
I was at like you mean like if they happened, you wouldn't really mind it, but it's not something you would purposefully make happen. What do you guys think about that?
It sounds like she's talking about like intrusive thoughts, which are like, when you're driving, down the highway and you're like, oh, if I just went like this, I could like veer into oncoming traffic and like hurt a bunch of people. Like,
well, my problem would be gone.
Yeah, it's and it doesn't even have to go into all of my problems. Like, it doesn't necessarily mean at all that you're suicidal, but it is really freaky when those thoughts happen. They're called intrusive thoughts, and they are surprisingly perfectly normal. It freaked me out a lot when I would have those thoughts. But yeah, it's kind of an odd phenomenon that is just your brain being really mean and weird to you.
Well, Genevieve, I was wondering though, the questioner phrased it as a passive suicide thought. What do you think about that? Is that kind of what she evidently she's feeling that that's what that is.
Yeah, exactly. It's, I'm taking a bath. Oh, I could just drop a toaster in here. And it's not something.
Well, why do you have a toaster in the bathroom? I don't understand.
Yeah, you wouldn't.
You don't have shower toast, Dave?
No, I don't.
The only time I have toast is in the bathroom, and I have.
You're not dying out loud if you're not having shower toast.
That would be loud. That would be loud.
But at least that's my 2 cents on it. I've read about intrusive thoughts a lot because they really freak me out. If you're driving across a bridge and you think like, oh, I could just drive off of it and plummet 500 feet down into the bay. Mm-hmm. I read a lot of articles about how that was perfectly normal, and I wasn't just, going insane or suicidal without, feeling it really.
How about you, Steve? You got any stake in this game? Especially as a parent, I know that I frequently entertain thoughts of taking myself out just because I'm a parent. So how do you...
Well, kind of like what I agree with Genevieve. Like some of it's not really your thoughts. They just kind of pass through while you're driving and it just pops up, and it's not really something to worry about. Other times, perhaps it is something that's a little bit deeper that you need to seek counseling over. But I guess that just depends on the frequency of the thoughts themselves. Mm-hmm. But for me, like 2 years ago, if we want to dig into some personal stuff, like 2 years ago, I was just in this deep state of depression. My marriage was kind of on the end. I was doing some stuff I shouldn't have been doing. And I just started drinking just to escape from my own mind. And I had vivid thoughts of hanging myself in my garage. So this was like, sorry if that's too vivid for you, but
safe space here.
Safe space. So I had like these vivid thoughts. I was going to do it. And I played this torturous game with myself. Every time I walked into a room, I would stare at whatever ceiling they had and say, well, that could support my weight, or that couldn't. I would play this game in any building I was in. Eventually, I got out of that. But one of the things that kept me holding on was my son. So this was before my daughter was born. My son was 2 then, I think, like 1.5, 2. And I remember I would sit in my rocking chair that I had in his room, and I'd rock him to sleep and just like sob. And he was what kept me going. It wasn't my wife because we were feuding, and I mean, it was all my fault. But nevertheless, I couldn't really lean on her because I was kind of against her and this and that, whatever. So I leaned on my son, and that's like my best piece of advice is whatever gets you through this moment. Dave was just talking about earlier, like just living in the moment, whatever can get you through this moment will be the only thing that will be helpful. So for me in those moments, it was my son, and just, I can't leave my son. So I just grabbed onto him and eventually found some other things I could grab onto. And now today I'm at a healthy place. Marriage is great. We're doing better, seeking marriage counseling, that kind of thing. And, but yeah, so I've had a past of suicide. I currently take depression medication. My mom has struggled with depression. Did we lose Dave? It's 3 viewers now.
Yeah, he dipped out, so we'll figure that out.
Okay. So yeah, I have a family history of that kind of stuff, and as a kid, but so it resurfaced, but I'm in a better place. But yeah, so a lot of times we think that we have to, so we'll use an example, like we're sinking in the ocean somewhere, right? And we feel like we have to swim to shore, have to find the shore. I kind of take the stance like whatever keeps you floating will eventually drift to the shore. We'll just keep grabbing stuff that keeps us afloat so we don't drown. So, and now I feel like I'm at the shore. Maybe. We'll see.
Maybe. Shout out to
what?
What is that?
I think that's Dave.
Like there was an echo. Shout out to Tech Freak, who reminded me that it's called the Call of the Void, which I'm sure we've all heard. Mm-hmm. Just that call of like, hey, everything can be gone. All your problems can be gone. All your joys will be gone too, but you won't know about it because you'll be gone. And that's a very real thing. Like I struggle with that too. Like for those who didn't know, I was married for 9 years. I have 3 kids with her, and she out of nowhere wanted a divorce for no reason. Our third child was born in a pretty traumatic situation, and it changed her very much. And she started acting distant towards me, and I asked her what's going on, and she was just like, "I want a divorce." And it turns out she wanted to be with somebody else, and I was totally unaware of that. But we were financially dependent on each other. We still rented an apartment together, and I ended up living in the basement for a little while. And I was very, very. Then I was going through my deconstruction at the same time. So my reality, everything I had known my entire life, was just crumbling down around me. And I got into some very dark places, and I got help. I went to counseling. And after at the end of my third session of our counseling service, my therapist was like, "I feel like I'm comfortable with ending our sessions now, if you're okay with that." And I was like, "This is our third session. We haven't even scratched the surface. Are you kidding?" And so I got very cynical, and I was like, "Yeah, fine, we're good. Yeah, fuck me. All right, I don't need this shit." So I got very cynical towards the counseling and mental health system. For a while, and refused to seek help because I was scarred by that. But I eventually got help again. Not really counseling. I got started seeing a psychiatrist, and now I'm medicated for some of my issues, which has helped. But yeah, that is definitely a mood. Just being in that place where you're like, I'm tired of feeling this way. I'm tired of dealing with this. If I just disappeared, I wouldn't feel this way anymore. And then I had, you were saying, Stephen, throwing my kids. What would happen to my kids if I just disappeared? I have an ex-wife who is very mentally unstable. She's not capable of taking care of them. I am. And that's why I have full custody of them. And she sees them when I say she can see them. I call the shots in that because I kept myself together and did what I needed to do. So it was very difficult for me.
For me, I just kind of, my deconstruction resulted in the loss of my daughters.
Yeah, Dave, I remember I wanted to get your take on that too, because I heard you talk about that at one point.
Yeah, it's a big part of my story. I deconstructed about a dozen years ago, and as I did that, or after I did that, and when my daughters became aware that I've got 3 kids, 2 daughters and a son, and my daughters are married to men who were at the time very much involved in a church that practiced shunning, and it's a church I was in as well. But their reaction to my deconstruction was to pretty much shun me, or break relationship is a better word. And the woman I was married to at the time, I was married 37 years, she remained a Christian, but they shunned her as well because she stayed with me. So for about 5 or 6 years, I was an atheist living with a Christian wife, and we weren't seeing our daughters or our grandkids. We had 6 grandkids between the 2 daughters. And so that went on for years, and it really took me down a pretty bad road mentally. I was sad and depressed and really didn't see a lot of positivity in my future. And I thought, this is not going well. I don't see how this ends well. I can't reconvert. I can't believe like they want me to. I told them both, you might as well be asking me to grow a 3rd arm out of my forehead. It's just as impossible to do that as to think the way you want me to think. I can't put the genie back in the bottle. I can't do it. It's not there.
Ooh, I like that.
But they couldn't receive that. They couldn't understand that. And so their response to that was to just dissociate from me. And it really, for about 3 years, I was in a really bad place. I was trying to find some meaning in life, trying to find some purpose, trying to find something that would make sense of anything. And what I ended up just coming to the conclusion that I had to let all that go, and I had to reboot my life in essence, and take the way I put it is this: I was allowing them to write my story.
Lost you, Dave. It's getting so good, too.
I know, right? Darn it.
Man.
Allowing them to write your life.
We're left with a cliffhanger now.
Yeah, like he's
The suspense is killing me.
the whole like Michael Bay thing. Babe. Dear. Need your help.
Ma, the meatloaf.
Where's the Mountain Dew?
You can't even pee. What?
Dave is frozen and gone.
I don't think I can fix that.
Okay.
I think it's and hopefully he'll be back.
Hey, look at that. Maybe.
Yep, that's on his end.
All right. Well, it's okay. We can continue the conversation until he comes back.
I was gonna say I understand your cynicism towards mental health providers. I remember it was about 10 years ago, I think, that I had like a pretty severe mental health crisis. I dropped out of school. I completely lost myself. And, I was, I'm young. 10 years ago, I was a teenager. And I remember just sort of therapist hopping because as a teenager, you think the whole world doesn't understand you. And I was just thinking, you're just paid to be here. You don't actually care about me and my well-being. And it took me a really long time to fix it myself because I didn't think that they genuinely cared. I think in general, I was just kind of jaded at society as a whole because I saw them as just another cog in this capitalist machine, and I didn't really feel, cared for at all. And I had to kind of learn to care for myself. And that kind of swings back to what we were talking about earlier about how, people say, oh, I was really struggling and then I got TikTok. And it's, well, if that goes away, ultimately you need to find something that's just within yourself that you can kind of tether your happiness and safety to because, loved ones die. Apps get deleted. There's not a whole lot that is constant in this world, but like you always have to be there for yourself.
That's good.
That is good.
Glad to have you back, Dave.
Sorry, I don't know why I keep getting booted. I got all the connections, but anyway, to finish what I was trying to say, sorry about that, y'all. What I found that I was allowing other people or other events or circumstances
Pasta Mike's in the house
to write my story for me, and I realized that I had the ability to write my own story. And so I rebooted my life. I left the marriage and just started over at the age of like 61, 62 years old. And that was a daunting thing to do, but it really brought me a lot of mental stability and happiness. And I was more comfortable in my skin than I'd ever been in my life, and still am. It's not like that changed. But anyway, we, like Genevieve was saying, I just caught the last end of that. We have to make the changes in us. It's up to us.
Yeah, Dave, I really like the way you put that. You were allowing other people to write your story for you, and you decided to start writing your own story yourself. Like that's a really good way to put that. Steve, it was highlighted a minute ago.
Yeah, I was gonna say thanks, Crazy Nina 2002.
Yeah,
appreciate that.
So said you're the most positive person, and I'd say that's true. Like you're someone who spreads a lot of positive energy over the app, and I appreciate that. How do you feel about? Sometimes I struggle with feeling like I am pretending to be something I'm not. If that makes any sense. Like I appear to be this mentally well put together, educated person, and then like I hide the fact that I'm actually really fucked up in the head, and just nobody sees that. So like I often wonder if it's a good thing that I'm not showing that part of me, or if I should show that part of me more to show that I'm more genuine, more human. Like, do you know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Yeah. I try to be, excuse me, as vulnerable as possible. I try to be the one that opens my book rather than have my book open for me.
Oh, it's
I
good.
mean, you look at like some of these people that someone digs into their past, an old tweet or an old Facebook post, and then it just wrecks their life. I mean, we all have those, I'm sure. We all have things that we've said that we regret, things that we've done that we regret. For us, this generation, sadly, most of it's online and viewable, but is what it is. So I try to be as vulnerable as possible. I mean, there's some things that I keep secret, at least for the time being. Perhaps when they become scars rather than wounds, I can show them because they won't hurt anymore. But yeah, I just try to be as open as possible. And I mean, I have characters that I portray on my TikTok, but I mean, it's not like I'm a movie star or anything. But so I just have a plethora of content that I release. But all in all, I try to be vulnerable, especially on my TikTok live. So people have questions. I'm pretty open, pretty honest. Unless I just don't have a good thought formulated about some question that they've asked, I'll hold off until I have a better response. But yeah, that's kind of what I do, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely feel that. Like, I made a video a little while back where I was like, I'll probably delete this in the morning because I've been drinking.
I've done some of those too, yeah.
Yeah, you know, and like, but I'm feeling very vulnerable, and I want to let you guys know that, like, I'm very encouraged by everything, and I got kind of emotional. But yeah, I started it with, I'll probably delete this morning, and when I woke up the next morning, I read through the comments, and they're like, "Don't delete this! Don't delete this! Don't do it!" And I was like, "Okay." And then during one of my lives, like kind of like you're saying, I was like, why do so many people follow me? I have no idea. I guess there's some interesting parts about me, but I don't understand why. And I had multiple people tell me that you're genuine, like you're not afraid to be vulnerable. And I was like, that makes sense. Like people like internet consumers are getting tired of personalities. Like personalities who are personalities for the sake of being a personality. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're characters. Yeah. Like there's several Christian content creators that I could name who that's all they are. They're a character. Like there's one guy who cries all the time in every one of his videos. There's another guy who like he puts the phone on the ground and then he kneels in front of the phone and puts a bunch of like really positive, uppity stuff about about his Bible study and their God's word and whatever. And I'm like, they're characters. They're playing something that they think everyone wants to see. And they're not showing what who they really are. It's like, and then you have people like you and me, who every now and then we lose our shit. And we'll tell everyone, hey, I'm not as well put together as some people think. I am fucked up and I'm struggling. It's like, so.
Yeah.
And people really seem to appreciate that. Do you feel the same way? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it helps. Several things it does when you open up about your struggles. It helps you, obviously, because you get to share the weight, if you will. And then it helps someone else because they can also know that, oh, they're not alone in their struggles. We all can relate. Whether or not our struggles are exactly the same, we can all relate in that we have struggles. So,
yeah,
if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I just tell people who think I'm all that to just talk to Bevan. She sees the real me.
Yeah. And in the end, like we're all human. We're all struggling. We're all fumble fucking our way through life.
Yeah.
We have no idea what's going on. We don't know what to do. We don't know what the rules are. We don't have a book to tell us what to do. And then you have people who claim that they do have it all together, or at least pretend like they do. And they portray a caricature that has figured everything out, who has all the answers. And people seem to gravitate to those personalities, but there's also a lot of people who gravitate to people who are honest. It's like some days I have really good days, and some days are very bad.
Yeah.
Like, if you enjoy my content during the good days, awesome. But if you don't stick with me through the times where I'm going through some shit, then you're not a real supporter.
Yeah.
And I do not mourn you're leaving. You know? like bye. Peace out. I don't care.
Well, that's sort of the deal with all of social media is this problem of people projecting this idea of perfection, and then not only are they kind of beholden to the identity that they create, but then they're creating, this identity for other people to consume as well, and then question themselves. And so overall, social media has been really toxic for mental health, but that is why I think it's important to be vulnerable. And it's also kind of why I enjoy TikTok more than Instagram, because I have seen people being more vulnerable. You just take, 15 or 60 seconds to film a piece of your life. It feels a lot more genuine. I know there are a lot of, curated things out there for sure. But overall, I think that as far as platforms go, TikTok somehow seems to be less problematic than Instagram or Facebook has been, where, kind of traditionally people don't share those bad days.
Yeah, people that post on Instagram and stuff, they usually actually can't live up to the own standard that they portray to the world. It's not real. So
it's not.
And plus, you look at that, like you said, and then you're down because, I want to have someone had said this before. It's show your best, hide the rest. I heard that hundreds of times.
Which day?
So,
well, yeah, it's a shame because I think that people are at their best when they are being themselves and opening up to others. And so much of being helpful to other people is just showing authenticity and showing your own humanity.
Hang on.
I don't want to look at a wax statue of you. I want to look at you. I want to look at the dirt. I want to look at the life that you live. So if I like your content, I like you. So I want to see you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But it kind of going back to Captain, you asked before about whether or not you share or you don't share. And I always err on the side of vulnerability and authenticity, but there's also room for boundaries, and you are allowed to have private bits of your life that you don't share with other people, and that's totally valid too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was. Bevan was writing me a note. I was trying to decide which ones you want to talk about, because I think I've heard from a lot of people who appreciate me sharing my vulnerability in dealing with ALS. And how I struggle with it, and how I have good days and bad days. And a lot of times I'll post something about the good day, and then I thought about this afterwards, because I put a thing out on Facebook that us old people use still, about a really good just a moment I had in Lincoln Park in Chicago, just having a cigar in the park and just enjoying a day and just having a moment. I talk a lot about the moments, that life is about the moments. And then the very next day, I'm sitting in Lincoln Park, and about once or twice a year, I have these bad allergy days where they just fucking wreck me, and I can't do anything but blow my nose all day long. And I was just so frustrated with it, because now with that, I have trouble in my arms with my ALS, and so if I'm blowing my nose for 2 hours straight, my arms are exhausted just from doing that, literally. And I was sitting on the park bench with Bevan, and I just screamed, "Fuck!" and I didn't care who heard me. And it's just that I need to show. I need to be as honest as I can with my journey, and I feel like people appreciate that. And I can share the good days and I can share the bad days and be real about what I'm struggling with, because we're all struggling with something. Mine happens to be a terminal illness, but still, we all struggle with something. And if we're not, what I've seen that has meant the most to me in the last few years is the responses from people who appreciate the vulnerability and the honesty with which I face what I face. And I think that's what you guys are saying. And we can all do that. But in order to do that, we have to pull back the veil and be real. And not everybody can do that.
Yeah, exactly right.
It's good.
All right, so
that was a nice little quiet moment there. I think
heavy moment here where we're getting into the thick of it. I appreciate you guys coming onto my show and being vulnerable.
Yeah.
This is a safe space. You can actually absolutely do that here, and I appreciate it when you do. This is not a stage where you come on and pretend to be something that you're not. Like I really love when people are authentic. That is the only thing that lasts, in my opinion. Like all these characters that people play, when shit hits the fan, those characters go away.
Yeah.
You don't see them. But people who are going through the shit hitting the fan is a Tuesday.
Yeah.
It's not that big of a deal.
Right.
That's good. That's what Genevieve was kind of saying. Like apps will go away, but I mean, if you like your image will go away that you've portrayed, but unless you've portrayed the image of yourself, then you still have you after everything's said and done.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, it's always kind of dangerous when you're finding your validation out of yourself. But you know, when things are really bad, though, find whatever it is. If that is something external, like that is okay. But you know, as far as like long-term mental health maintenance, you know, you have to be comfortable with the impermanence of everything.
Yeah, that's good. All these things that help us along the way, they act as supplements. They're not the meal, if you will, but they supplement and they help us stay as healthy as we possibly can. So,
yeah.
Well, to that answer, to add to that answer, that Rachel, how has social media and society's focus on it impacted your mental health, and in what way? I think my response to that, and I'll let you guys talk more, but I think what Genevieve was touching on and what Stephen mentioned too, we can get you when you get to be a social media presence, you can begin to depend on the likes and the shares too much, and your life can revolve around, oh, how much are people liking what I'm posting? How much am I being appreciated? And you start to gain your significance from that, and that can be a real trap, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of like TikTok or not TikTok models on Instagram have said things like that. Like every day they would wake up and they would obsess about how many likes their post got that they put on the day before, and it became part of their core identity, and it consumed them, and they kind of lost themselves in that. And I think that's a trap that a lot of people fall into.
Yeah, and it's also kind of by design in a way, in kind of a really sad way. You know, these, social media companies, they're vying for your attention, and the way that we've structured likes and shares and all of this stuff, it's playing to the human psychology of wanting that validation, wanting that acceptance of a community. So it's only natural for everybody to feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's
yeah, I've always struggled with like self-hatred and self-doubt, and a lot of times, like Captain Dadpool was saying, models, they would wake up and they would need that affirmation. It's essentially what I'm looking for. If I'm my worst days, I need some sort of affirmation. So sometimes it's likes, sometimes it's followers. But I mean, that would be the unhealthy way to heal. So we all do it.
Yeah, and I think there's a certain element of that that's healthy. We need, if we don't get validation from somewhere, then we're gonna feel pretty shitty about ourselves. And I've known people who weren't validated as kids. Maybe their parents were hypercritical, or they felt like losers or whatever, and that can lead to some pretty bad mental health positions. So validation's not a bad thing in and of itself, I don't think.
Right.
Yeah, definitely not.
You can always take anything too far, I guess, is the point.
Totally.
Yeah, I think when it's the only place that you're getting validation, and if it weren't for that, then you wouldn't see your self-worth, that's when it gets really dangerous. And, I've heard of, TikTok stars here and there, ending their lives We've seen that with a lot of people on YouTube and just, the generation in general. I'm very curious to see how, generations that were brought up solely on social media, how it impacts their psyche.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I almost wonder if they're going to be better adapted to it than we are.
Mm-hmm.
Because we didn't grow up with it, especially like me and Steve and Dave. Like, I didn't get a computer until I was 16, and we had AIM, and YouTube was not a thing. We had flash.com or newgrounds.com.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we had those, like, that's what we had. And then YouTube came later, and now here we are. But and I didn't join Facebook until I was in high school, and we remember MySpace.
Mm-hmm.
But
MySpace was fantastic.
I was actually just on my MySpace today.
And it's
yeah?
Yeah. It's still there. I wanted to see if I could find some old pictures.
It's like primarily a music thing now. I tried to log back into it at one point. I wasn't able to. I couldn't even begin to figure out my login stuff, and even any effort to recover my login information didn't work. It's like that entire part of my childhood is gone. I don't think I'll ever be able to recover it again.
I don't miss the drama of figuring out.
I do remember Zanga.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
What was it?
I said I don't miss the drama of figuring out who's going to be in your top 8. When you get in a
Yes.
fight, you've got to rearrange your top 8, and it's like a whole thing. And then when you notice you disappeared from somebody else's top 8, you're like, "Hey man, like, what gives, huh?"
Yeah. The number one was always the person you were dating, and then when they got moved, you're like, "Oh my gosh, did they break up? What happened?"
Yeah. Also, like low-key coding skills, like the HTML though, I got really good at that. I should have stuck with it. I'll probably have a much higher paying job now.
Did y'all see the meme that was like, Facebook should have an option where you can put a mute, like a certain song whenever you go into their profile, and they're like, we've officially reached the age where no one remembers MySpace, because that's what MySpace was. You stress out about it. What song should I put on my profile?
Mm-hmm. But also, as far as social media moguls go, I wish that everybody was like Tom, because Tom created MySpace, was friends with everybody, and then kind of shut it down. And I think he's like a traveling photographer. He's like not doing much. He's not like a Zuckerberg destroying the universe. Like
he's just living his life now.
I don't know if it's just
he's living his best life.
Yeah, he's living his best life, and like not
doing the Joel Osteen thing.
Yeah, he's Joel Osteening it up right now.
Yeah. Oh, somebody just mentioned Neopets.
Neopets.
Oh man.
Those little keychain deals? Is that what we're talking about?
No, those are the Tamagotchis. Neopets was a website where you could like exist in this village and you had your own pets and you could play these games. I think my favorite was like a wolf that I had. I think it was like a Lupin, and that was a big deal back in like 2001-ish.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I remember
I'm
the Tamagotchis
32,
for sure.
So.
Yeah, I'll be turning 35 here in a couple months. We're in a similar age bracket.
Yeah, you guys are probably way too old and cool for Neopets, but as a 28-year-old, I have fond memories for sure.
There he is, Dave.
Welcome back.
I don't know what's happening. I keep freezing up. I didn't have any of this problem on the show this afternoon.
Were you taking a break?
No, since I got booted off, I did go pee.
Use time wisely.
If we're keeping it real, so we're doing ages. I'm 65, so I got you guys doubled.
Yeah, we're not even gonna try and compete with that.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't know why I keep getting booted off. It's weird.
We did transition into the first segment.
Yeah, that's what I said at the beginning. Like sometime, like you more often than not, we transition into the nerdy segment.
I can't.
Without meaning to.
I'm not very nerdy, so I don't know what to add to this.
Well, Dave's very nerdy about cigars. Like when you were on our show, you educated me and my co-host on the fine art of a cigar consuming. And we learned about things that we didn't know about prior.
I rolled my own in Nicaragua a few years ago.
Nice.
We've got a cigar and whiskey show coming up soon, don't we, Captain?
We do. What was the date of that?
The 11th, I think.
11th. Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, this Friday night.
I'll just do it from my phone. We'll figure it out.
I like a good cigar. I like sweet cigars that have a sweet flavor.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
I would like pretty much anything from.
Oh, okay. I can't talk to you anymore.
You're one of those guys.
Yeah, you're one of those.
I think I mentioned that I like anything that Acid makes, especially the brand or Toast. Acid Toast is like my favorite so far. They say that when you go shopping for cigars, you get two. You get one that you know that you like, and get one that you haven't tried before.
Well, I get three. I get one that I know I like, and one that I want to try, and then one that I will share with a guest who doesn't appreciate cigars, because I'm not going to fucking give him a good one.
Okay.
That's fantastic.
Somebody says, "Hey, I'd like one." Okay, I'll pull out one of the cheap ones. Okay, have this.
Why is it called "It's a Boy"? Oh, just smoke it.
It's a boy.
Someone sent me a Davidoff cigar, and it is probably the top of the line. It's like a $30 cigar. So I enjoyed that in a special moment.
Oh, I'll bet.
Well,
How much are like authentic Cubans? Like,
What's
how
that?
much do they run? How much do like authentic Cubans run?
Well, I feel like did we not talk about the Cubans before? I don't want to. The Cubans are overrated because they're still going off their reputation from years ago. But what happened is several years back, maybe 10 years now, there was a hurricane that really destroyed or messed up the ground, and it's all about the soil. And so the quality of the Cubans is not what it used to be. And now the best cigars are in Dominican Republic and Nicaragua, because those cigar places, they had seeds that they got from Cuba, and their soil wasn't compromised. So they have the best cigars. So I've had a Cuban, and it's not as good as a Nicaraguan or Dominican.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's similar to like wine. Like every time they do like a blind testing or a double blind test of like sipping wine, and they give someone an expensive wine and then they give them a cheap wine, more often than not, the cheap wine is deemed the tastiest. Mm-hmm. And they're like, oh, well, and like, yeah, so like you're wasting your money on this expensive wine.
Yeah.
It's all about the image. It's not about
It is. It's image.
The cigars.
Yeah, Bevan and I were at a wine tasting party the other night or months ago, and everybody was, voting on their favorite wine, and the cheap one was far and away the best, people's favorite. So it's weird.
Yeah, well, the wine industry itself is very strange too.
Is it?
Yeah, I'm from the Bay Area. We've got wine country and stuff. And then I was also like a chef for like 10 years, and I do a lot of like wine dinners and wine pairings and stuff. And there definitely is some special wine out there that has a high price point, and it's totally worth it. But I mean, really, you're going off of, the year, the region, and the grape, and ultimately it's personal preference. But I have seen some of those funny videos where people do blind taste testings, and they present like some cheap wine and just say that it's something really expensive, and all these sommeliers are like, oh yeah, I'm getting all like these like deep red cherry notes, like this is a really like wonderful wine. It's all a lie.
Yeah.
I have a lot of sommelier friends, and it definitely is a skill. It feels really cool to go to a restaurant and you can taste something and you can say like, oh yeah, I can tell this is totally a French Pinot from like 2016 or something. It's a cool party trick at this point, but
where I have seen a difference in price points, in terms of price points equating to quality, is like with bourbon or Scotch. because when you get to the higher priced bourbons and scotches, and I think that has to do with the aging. Because I mean, I tasted some bourbon a while back that was like a $200 bottle of bourbon, and man, was it the smoothest thing I've ever had in my mouth. It was just like wow. So there is a difference there.
Yeah. No, that's definitely true. I wish that I appreciated straight liquor more than I do. But
I can help you there, Genevieve. I can help you.
Yeah. No, I mean, I remember one time I was working at this amazing restaurant in San Francisco, and we had a customer who was a representative of the Armagnac region. So she gave us like a free flight of Armagnac to taste, and then we like took it back to our buddy's house. And Armagnac is, as far as liquors go, it's very, very expensive and elite. And I felt bad wasting it. I was like, this tastes like burning. This tastes like burning. This is like smooth.
It's like burning.
Yeah. No, I don't go as hard as I used to. I've cut back a lot, but
This tastes like it hurts.
Yeah. But
why would anybody pay money for this?
Yeah. The last scotch that I had though was a Macallan 16, and that was really nice. So yeah, I'm just gonna stick to the really fancy scotch.
It's for sipping only.
Yeah.
How about you, Steve? What do you prefer straight?
I like Canadian whiskey.
Oh, yeah?
The rocks. Yeah. But there's this, I'm in Texas, so there's this whiskey called TX. It's like a blended whiskey that's really good just on the rocks. So I like that too. But they also make a bourbon, which is okay. But I like the blended better. So, or a scotch is good too. I'm not a huge bourbon fan, but it is what it is. I'll drink it. I don't like mixing in anything though. I don't want to put it in Coke. I feel like it's going to ruin whatever flavor that actually comes with the liquor itself.
Yeah, same.
It's like putting steak sauce on a steak. If you have to put steak sauce on a steak, you didn't make a good steak.
Yeah.
Well, I feel very offended right now because I'm drinking bourbon and Coke right now.
Well, yeah, sorry. I didn't mean it like
True,
that.
strong.
Dave, you're a little older, you know.
But here's the thing. I won't mix the really good bourbon with Coke. I buy the cheap shit to mix with Coke. So
there you go.
I feel like
that's fair.
I wouldn't compromise a good quality bourbon with Coke. I wouldn't. I have principles.
There you go. You have good values.
Even though I'm an atheist, I have some values around bourbon anyway.
Where do you get your morality from, Dave? Where does that standard come from?
Obviously, bourbon. Obviously, bourbon. Yeah, we had a question on the AXP this afternoon about morality. Of course, we always have one of those at least, but oh my God, it's just I'm so tired of that fucking argument.
God, me too. It's really this guy, and like Frank Turek has that shit. Like,
I lose my shit with those people. I'm sorry. I just can't do it.
Like, you can't justify your morality. Like, you're just making an unsubstantiated claim about my morality. Like, anyway. So if anybody in the comments has any questions, feel free to ask. I don't want to get into that. I really don't.
Oh, no, we're going to get our blood pressure up, Captain.
Yeah, that whole... Oh.
Get my morality from Rick and Morty.
That's a great source. It really is. It's a great source. I fucking love Rick and Morty.
Yeah, that show is amazing. And as far as like getting your morality from it, just take whatever Rick says and do the opposite. Like,
yeah,
I think, because I think Rick's kind of based on Dan Harmon, and he's kind of even said like, I'm kind of a bastard, and like Rick is not somebody that you should, deify in a sense. But it happens. Awesome show though.
I feel like Rick is on this next level nihilism.
Mm-hmm.
Where he's just like, just do it. Do whatever you want to do. it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter in the end. So why would you care? Just do it.
Yeah.
What do y'all think about that?
I think it's a hard too, though, because there's these moments in Rick and Morty that are really just like tearjerkers. When you can see that Rick is just struggling with how alone he is, even though he's the one alienating everybody by just being an asshole and being selfish.
He's like Dr. House.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Exactly.
That's what he reminds me of.
Yeah.
Like, he's so brilliant that he's nihilistic.
Yeah. I'm here for an intergalactic Hugh Laurie any day.
Man. All right.
I think there are people who are so wounded, though, that they end up alienating everyone from themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't want to, but they feel so bad about themselves that they can't handle anyone else feeling good about them.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
That's very true.
Yeah.
It's sad. It's sad. It's sad to see that.
I kind of did that in high school. I hated myself so much that I projected my own view of myself on everyone else, and I couldn't form healthy relationships with anybody because I just assumed they hated me, and they didn't. I had conversations as an adult with them. Like, oh, I thought you hated me. Nope, never hated you. You hated you. So that was why. So
Okay, I'm glad I'm not alone in that, because I remember for years I had this problem of thinking that everybody was just pretending to be my friend, and they were actually making fun of me behind my back, and like really I was like this total piece of shit. And it took a long time for me to like trust that people genuinely liked me, but in general, as far as that goes, just people projecting, it can become a self-fulfilling prophecy. And that's kind of why when I've talked to people about how to recover from bad spaces mentally and, you know, guilt, it is about forgiveness. You have to forgive yourself for what you've done and who you've been and the things that you're not proud of, so that you can move on. Because I know so many amazing people who will still tell me, like, you don't really know me, I'm a bad person, and like they push you away, and then they're being the dick that they're saying they are when really they're not. It's this whole cycle, and I think this is kind of why Christianity can be so popular for people who are struggling, is that it's so hard. It is so hard to forgive yourself. But when you think it's Jesus Christ doing it, then it's so much easier. But ultimately, whether you believe in Jesus Christ or, you know, in anything else, it's the forgiveness that I think is key. It's that moving on, cleaning your slate so you can not tether yourself to this bad idea that you had of yourself in the past.
Yeah. I think religion plays a key role in people's lives, mainly due to the community aspect in general. It's easy to get involved in some sort of religion or denomination within Christianity because it's just, there's a community there that they can talk to.
Yeah. And I think community is important for everybody.
Yeah. I think Dave talked about it at the beginning of the podcast, how we're kind of built in a way for communication or community with other people. So
and a lot of ex-Christian atheists that I relate with, that I've known, the thing they miss the most about church is the community aspect of it, because it's hard to find community as an atheist. We were in a road trip. I heard from, we were down in a small town, Tyler, Texas. Where are you in Texas, Stephen?
I live in a town called Granbury. It's east of Fort Worth, a little bit. It's like 30 minutes east of Fort Worth.
So you know where Tyler is.
Yeah.
So anyway, we were doing this. We wanted to stop and see somebody in Tyler that I'd never met, and she wanted to meet us. So we stayed there, and we had a little meetup. And another friend of mine that I'd connected with online and that I'd met a couple times, he came to the meetup we had, and they connected, and they lived like 5 minutes from each other and didn't know either one existed. And she messaged me this afternoon and said, Levi and I hung out. We went to Barnes and Noble. We went to a movie, and now we're BFFs. Thank you for connecting. Thank you for connecting us. And so that community aspect that people miss from the church it's hard to replicate that.
Yeah.
For sure. Insert awkward silence.
Just taking it in, my friend.
It's only awkward if we make it awkward.
Yeah. I like those moments where I'm very awkward in like person to person conversation. I never know when to end the conversation. So I just kind of like, all right, I'm going. It's like, I don't know if you all deal with that. I can start a conversation, but like there's always that lull at the end, like, okay, well, see you later.
Bye.
You know, I was always that guy that felt the obligation to keep the conversation going or to start one if there wasn't one. I felt like, oh my God, I've got to fill the silence. And when I ran out of fucks a few years ago, I don't fucking care. I'll sit in silence for an hour. If I don't have something to say, I don't care.
Just embrace it.
I am excited for the day where I get to that point, Dave.
Oh man, I'm at a fuck deficit mode.
Oh, Laura is almost done the 7 Deadly Sins. Good. I'm super excited.
Is that a movie or a book?
It's an anime.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't watch anime.
I
Never got
highly.
into it.
I'm not a huge anime person either, but like a few of them, like I'll watch every now and then. But 7 Deadly Sins is really good. It's like on like with Dragon Ball Z. It's it's kind of like. Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah, Correa brings up a really good point. I really miss the community of church before I found the atheist community from Tart and Atheist TikTok.
What's tart?
The
Atheist Roundtable.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Tune in Friday night. Come join us Friday night, Stephen. We'll have cigars, whiskey, and what do? We break down Bible verses.
Pretty much, yeah, and that show specifically, but pretty much every day of the week, or Tart or Tang, the Atheist Network group. It's a channel on YouTube. There's a show pretty much, every day. We do debates, we do movie reviews, just discussion panels, call-in shows. So they do all kinds of stuff. So yeah, if you're not subscribed to Tart or Tang, I recommend it. I'm on there fairly frequently. Dave's on there every now and then. And here in the near future, we have a show called, what was it, Whiskey and Cigars?
Yeah.
Whiskey and Scotch. Cigars and Scotch.
Some of those things, I don't know.
So it was, those sinful indulgences.
Liquor and smoke.
Liquor and...
Smoking and drinking.
Liquor and cocaine. But anyway... So we just we just hang out and we talk about things and it's a good time. But other than that, we host they host formal debates, call-in shows, movie reviews, things like that. So we have a good time. And there's Christians on there. Just the other day, it was me and Biddy Buddha talked to a guy who claimed he had visions of Jesus,
like real visions, like
real, like Jesus came and visited me, and he had a history of drug use, but afterwards he messaged Oz, who's the founder, him and Pasta Mike, who was in the chat a while ago, started Tart. And that guy, his name was Isaiah, he messaged them and was like, you guys were way nicer to me than any Christian show or podcast I've ever been on.
Wow.
And like that's saying something. It's like, because we have no agenda. We have no stance. We just want to talk to people. But like, Christians just want to argue with other Christians about their theology. And that's never going to end. But us as skeptics are like, okay, that's interesting. I think you're wrong, but that's interesting. And that's it. Like, no hate. I'm not going to tell you you're stupid. But
or that you're going to burn in hell.
Or that you're going to burn in hell. You're not going to get that from us because we don't believe in hell. But yeah, it's pretty telling, and that's not the only one. There's been several people who's like, yeah, you guys, the atheist shows are way nicer to me than the other Christian shows. So I think that says a lot.
That's a great testimony, Dadpool.
Wink, wink, and nudge, nudge to you Christian communities out there. Take notes from the atheists.
That does remind me of I did a dual live on TikTok with Andrew Harrison Cox a few weeks ago, and he's a progressive Christian. I think honestly you'd probably really like him. He's really knowledgeable about the Old Testament and stuff. I'm still on the fence about how I feel about progressive Christianity, but like Andrew himself is a really nice guy, and something that we were talking about was. I was talking about a lot of the charity work that I've done and the volunteering that I do and sort of like my whole, deriving meaning in life from just doing my part to help as many people as I can and to make the world a little better than I found it. And what I came back to was I ultimately just want to embarrass Christians. Like I want to embarrass the churches that used to be kind of a hub of like community and help and aid and like mutual aid. But a lot of them are just like funneling all their money into these rainy day funds that never get used. They're building bigger churches. They're paying their pastors like a ridiculous amount of money and then telling people to tithe, even if they like can't pay their bills. It's really bad, and I want them to do better. So, like, when the pandemic hit, I helped start like a meals program to cook free meals for our community. I was making like 1,000 meals per week, and that was way more than all of the Southern Baptist churches in my community combined. Ultimately, I want to embarrass Christians and Christian churches to do better and to be better and be more supportive and not so hateful. Because I think ultimately, like the atheist community is oftentimes a lot more accepting and loving, and it shouldn't be that way.
Yeah, the last church that I was a member of, the head pastor was paid $80,000 or $90,000 a year, and I'm like, why?
Yeah.
He makes up his sermons as he goes. He doesn't do one-on-one counseling sessions. He goes up every Sunday and he makes up a sermon on the spot. And he gets paid $90,000 a year, $80,000 or $90,000 a year to do that. So why is my tithes going to something like this? Like a pastor would be totally comfortable with a $40,000 a year. And in fact, in the early Christianity, the pastors didn't get paid anything. They had to have a side hustle in order to make it, and it was entirely voluntary as to any sort of ministry that they did. But nowadays, they had a salary. The secretary has a salary. The youth pastor has a salary. The children's minister has a salary. The worship leader has a salary. Like everyone has a salary, and it's usually way more than a factory worker's salary or wage. And it's like now, and I made a TikTok about this a couple of days ago. Like I am so glad that I don't deal with the guilt of not being able to afford tithing, because that's something I dealt with a lot. I could never afford it. But now I'm like, whenever I have a fellow TikToker in the community who's like, hey, we lost our house. We're being evicted. I lost my car. My car is totaled. I need a new car. I love, here, take 50, $100. Like I fucking love that. I am totally in charge of where my money goes. As before, it was like, I can't even afford to give to the church as I should be, let alone anything extra that I genuinely care about. So now it's like, awesome. I have this money. I'll give it to this guy. I'll give it to that person. And it's a really good feeling that I didn't experience when I was a Christian. Does that make sense?
Well, Captain, if you had tithed, God would have blessed you enough to afford it. That's what we taught.
It is.
You've got to give, and then God will increase that.
That's
and so
right.
We taught people to give even though they didn't have it, because God's going to bless what you give even if you can't pay your rent.
And I mentioned that, like, and who is that? Do y'all remember that guy who like claims God told him to give a certain amount of money that was way more than he could afford, and God told him he would bless him, and he gave that amount of money, and God gave him a private jet or something,
Jesse
like
Duplantis?
that sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Are you talking about a pastor?
Yeah.
There's a Mike Murdoch's one of them. Jesse
Mike
Duplantis.
Murdoch.
They're all con men. Yeah.
So that's all like, that's what they teach. Like the 10% that you're supposed to give with every paycheck, and by the way, that's supposed to take priority over your bills.
Mm-hmm.
That is number one. You make sure you do that first. If you don't have enough money for food or electric, that sucks. Make sure you give your tithe, your minimum 10%. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Now, anything extra you give, that is what will be attributed to you in the afterlife, what have you. But the 10% is the bare minimum. So then, when you're not even able to afford to give the bare minimum, you're like, oh no.
Well, and let's be honest.
Life is going to suck because I can't afford.
The whole tithing concept's pretty shaky biblically to begin with.
Yeah, it is.
There's not a lot of evidence of that.
Shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, mainly just comes out of that Malachi, Old Testament.
That's the only thing they can point to. Yeah.
Malachi, the Italian prophet.
I hate that joke. Every pastor who does a tithe method, let's turn to Malachi, the
I'm glad
Italian
you
prophet.
recognize that.
So
That's how
funny.
you know you're a real Christian, if you recognize that joke.
Yeah, you hear all of them 1,000 times. So in a day. Oh, someone has a question. Not that I'm running the show, but sorry.
Oh,
My bad. That's your job.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
no, that's the one thing about mental health. Faith gave me so much anxiety. I worried about my friends' afterlife and well-being. Yeah, that's another point. And there's another video I think I responded to recently. It's like, how am I supposed to feel about my loved ones burning in hell? And they were like, I will rejoice because they did not meet God's holy standard.
Yeah.
Like, really, if your son, your daughter, your mother, your father ends up burning in hell for all eternity, you're going to rejoice over that? Well, then fuck your couch and fuck the horse you rode in.
Yeah.
You're dumb. You're dumb because hell's not even a biblical concept. And I go into that in a lot of my videos. But I'm like, if that's something you're okay with, you buy into, and you preach, like, you're a shitty human being. Full stop.
The other excuse I've heard besides you'll rejoice because this is God's justice is the idea that you won't remember them.
Yeah.
You won't remember your loved ones. You won't remember the people that are burning in
hell. God will magically wipe your brain clean from all that.
But then at
I
that
actually
point,
haven't heard that one.
I've heard that a lot because
that's pretty standard stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I started making like religious-based TikToks to kind of like distract me and like pass the time while I've been grieving about my dad that died really recently. And so I remember I stitched a video talking about this idea that like if I were to find Jesus Christ and accept him into my heart and then die and find out that it's real as I come to like the pearly gates, like I would be mortified. I understand that hell isn't biblical, but for many evangelicals in this country, they totally think it is. So, for the sake of the thought experiment, if I actually did somehow find Jesus Christ and go to heaven, I would be completely terrified knowing that there's billions of people that are burning in hell, including like my dad. So the thought that it could be a paradise is a paradox. It could never be a paradise when I know so much suffering and injustice is happening to people who may have just committed the crime of just not believing.
Mm-hmm.
That seems cruel. Heaven could not exist. And if you did wipe my memory, then am I the same person? Because I think that who I am is kind of the product of these relationships and these connections that I've made in my life and my loved ones. So I don't buy that one either.
Well, there's a lot of magic involved in the whole idea of heaven, and I mean, wiping your memory clean so you don't think of loved ones burning in hell. That's just one thing. And then what age are you going to be in heaven? Which body are you going to inhabit? And, my mom was married to two different Christian men. Which one is she going to be with in heaven? Because she can't wait to see one. And the other one she didn't want to see. But all of that shit, it's just magical thinking.
Yeah, and some of the earliest Christian groups, especially under Emperor Constantine, they believed that newborn babies went to hell if they died. Like that was their belief at the time, and they had no problem with it. And then later on, they were like, well, maybe there's this age of accountability. They go to heaven automatically if they die up until the age of 7 or something.
6 or 5 or
and then you're like, okay, you're all just making up shit.
Making shit up, man. They're making shit up.
None of you know, because God didn't give us a clear understanding. That's why there's been so much debate throughout the past 20 centuries. Is because God did not give us a clear message as to His will or His divine, intervention in our life. We're all left to guess. That's all we can do. And when we guess wrong, God doesn't care to correct us. It's like, okay, you're wrong. It's fine. Just let you be wrong because free will. And I don't know tangent right now, but there's just so many questions, Yeah,
I feel like within Christianity, since that's what we're talking about, the Bible itself doesn't answer all the questions that we have. And so people feel the need to give answers to those questions. And then you have a bunch of this jumbled stuff that y'all just mentioned. So, and to answer that question, yes, I am a believer. To Gwendol of some sort or of some kind, in your words.
Yeah, Steve is a reconstructing / deconstructing / reconstructing Christian.
Yeah, we talked. You and I, Captain, talked about that on my podcast. So
yeah, I was on his show. We had a good conversation about that. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, it was fun.
Where do we go from here? Is there any questions in here? Wait.
Those are two great options. Captain
Ryan
Dadpool or Ryan Reynolds.
I would pick Ryan Reynolds over me.
Well,
the real question is Ryan Reynolds or Chris Hemsworth.
There we go.
Yeah.
You just haven't seen my body yet.
Jason Momoa.
Oh. Jason Momoa is too scraggly. Have you seen his Instagram? His beard's all black.
He is now, but
anyway, quick, do something manly. So remember those beef jerky commercials where it's like, quick, do something manly, and they'd rip their chest hair out or something? Remember that?
No.
All right. I'll be over here if you need me. There was a Slim Jim commercial where two guys were eating the ends of it and they kissed on accident. He goes, quick, do something manly. And he just ripped his chest hair out. And then the commercial ended. Fantastic. Just back in the day.
I wouldn't mind having Ryan Reynolds' sense of humor and Chris Hemsworth's body, like if I were to choose. And then I guess Jason Momoa's like smoldering stare. I think he does that better than anybody else.
You have like this Frankenstein of like ideal.
Yeah, like just smash them all together.
I get it. I can see that.
Yeah. Ryan Reynolds is really funny, and he does seem like such a good dad and husband. He's great.
He's down to earth.
Yeah, really down to earth.
And then Chris Hemsworth's body is, Chris Hemsworth's body.
Yeah.
And, then Jason Momoa. Call Drago. That's all we need to say. Then you fuse the three of them like they're some sort of like Super Saiyan, and then
I think that would be a Frankenstein that would just instantaneously impregnate everybody in the world.
That would be a superpower.
It would be the birth of a new super race of man. I don't think the world can handle that.
Oof.
But
that
yeah,
would be fun.
I do enjoy. I don't really follow celebrities, but I do enjoy seeing Ryan Reynolds be a dad, and Chris Hemsworth too. I think on his Instagram he's like taking his kids surfing and stuff. But
have you seen Jason Momoa's documentary on like raising feral children?
No.
Like, he doesn't let his kids watch TV
It's
or
very
or
limited.
listen to the radio or do anything. Like, he is raised. They don't see any of his videos or films or movies or whatever. He raises them to be completely like feral children, is how he himself describes them,
Natural children.
or natural children. So they're completely electronic free, like almost like Amish in a way. Like, he's raising his kids. Like, he'll go away for a while, film his movies, and come back and like teach us and like build a half pipe for his kids to skateboard on. And it's
There's got to
interesting.
be a lot of pros and a lot of cons to that as well, especially when they grow up and realize, oh, there's another world that exists.
Yeah,
Kids
like,
are older now.
Not only that, but like, what about when they see movies and they realize, like, oh my god, like that's my dad in all of these TV
Yeah.
shows and all of this stuff, you know?
It's like the movie The Village, M. Night Shyamalan movie.
oh, ketchup versus mustard. That's what that movie is.
I just wonder though if those kids are going to be disadvantaged when they get to be needing to get jobs and they can't run a
Yeah.
computer.
Yeah,
I can groom horses. What else?
Yeah, I can build a house with my bare hands, but
I can put a half pipe together. I know how to make dreadlocks out of white guy hair. What
Maybe he figures his kids won't need to work. I don't know.
Those are
I
men.
know.
Well, you know, considering who their dad is, that could be a fair assessment. But
Yeah,
I mean, I think that there is kind of going back to kind of what we were saying about how problematic social media can be, especially for young, impressionable kids that are going through just like the hormonal, crazy self-loathing of being a teenager anyway. Like, not having technology is not necessarily a bad thing, except for when you need to know how to like make Excel spreadsheets. But I don't think that, you know, the children of a world famous movie star are going to be hurting for opportunity, which is kind of, you know, the reality of it too.
Bark.
I know. Yeah, I've been doing so much behind the scenes to keep my zoo quiet. I have 4 dogs.
What are you talking about? That was me. I just like to bark from time to time.
Yeah, I mean, don't we all? As far as things that
It's
you
this
do,
weird
to
like quirk I have.
Yeah, they get in
maintain
touch with
your
that
mental
primitive
health.
side. Yeah.
Every now and then, I just bark, howl, and scream. Makes me feel better.
We've seen the zoo roaming behind you, Genevieve.
I know. Oh yeah, there's Lucifer. I just caught a glimpse of her, and then I've got my senior dog down here being quiet, which I'm very grateful for. But
Earlier, I saw a ball roll behind you, and I was just like, "What the fuck is that?"
A little paranormal activity behind you.
you have like a house of cats. You should be so used to that.
I'm not that.
Yeah. Something you guys chat. I'm gonna mute myself real quick.
Go for it.
Oh my God, her zoo's going wild.
It is. All
That's
right.
funny.
So, Dave, how is your relationship with your kids nowadays? I heard you visited them recently, right?
Yeah, that was a strange development. I don't know where that came from, honestly. My oldest daughter, I've had these strained relationships with both of my daughters, strained and not strange, since my deconversion. But the first of the year, I reached out to both the girls and asked if I could send them Christmas gifts to the grandkids. And Bethany, my oldest, responded affirmatively and positively. And so we began to dialogue back and forth about that. And I sent them some Christmas presents. And then we were trying to arrange a time to see them. And so it worked out to see them a couple months ago, a few weeks ago anyway. We stopped and visited with my daughter and her husband and the 3 kids. And it was great. Bevan and I just had a great visit, a couple hours, just hung out. The grandkids were really engaged. One in particular was just like clinging to me, like all over me. And then recently Bethany sent me a message that said the daughter that was clingy was given an assignment in school to write a letter, and she picked Pops, wanted to write a letter to Pops. They call me Pops. So she wrote me this letter, and so I don't know what's going on there. I get the feeling that there's something in her mindset that's shifting, or that she's thinking about things. And we talked very naturally about, I asked them about, a side note, her and her husband pastor a church. So they're very involved in the evangelical world. And so I asked them about their church and COVID and all that. They asked me about what I'm doing in my travels. And I said stuff like, the work I do with, I didn't mention Dying Out Loud, but the work I do, I've connected with people around the world who've invited us to stay there. And when we travel and stuff like that. So it was a very normal and natural conversation that I still don't know where it came from. And here's what I've learned about that, though. I've learned not to attach meaning to the moments, and to just live in the moment and not try to attach it to a bigger story, not try to make a big narrative out of it, but just take the moment for what it's worth. Because when I'm able to do that, then when I leave there, I don't have any expectation of something that comes next. What's the next chapter in the story? There is no fucking story. It's a moment. We had a great moment. If there's another moment that follows that, great, I'll take it. If not, I'm not going to be disappointed because I have no expectation. And it's a huge lesson that was hard for me to learn, but it has made a huge difference in how I look at life.
That's good. That's really good. Wow.
It's deep.
Making me tear up a little bit.
What's that?
I said, you're making me tear up a little bit. I'm so happy that you guys had that moment, even if
exactly. And that's
from that. It's
that's the point of it, is to just live in the moment. God, it sounds like a fucking cliche, but to live in the moment and just get the most out of the moment that you can, because we're not guaranteed any further moments. Even if it was part of a bigger story, I could get hit by a car the next day. So if you're trying to make everything into the big story, which we were told as Christians that God has a big purpose and that everything has to match and fit into that purpose, it doesn't. It's just isolated moments. And if we're not careful, we lose the moments because we don't recognize it for what they are.
That's good.
Carpe
I think
the motherfucking diem.
Huh?
It's a carpe the motherfucking diem.
That's it, bud.
Mm-hmm. Amen.
Yeah, I think we bring a lot of our own issues into our lives because we can't stay present. We're always thinking about what's about to happen or what just did happen. But all we have right now, like this is the moment that I have, is just with you, all three of you, Dadpool, Dave, and Genevieve. Like we don't have 5 seconds ago even. It doesn't exist other than, it's live or it's being archived. But yeah, the present moment is all we actually have. I've thought a lot about that over the years, the last couple of years.
Fucking Nate.
Nate, you're a sick motherfucker is what you are.
The rumors were true. Oh, man. I didn't have a shirt on at all. What is happening?
This chat is funny.
I'm so lost.
Yeah, like super funny.
Oh, all right. Well, at one point I was kind of nervous because we were at like 35 minutes and I was like, how are we going to keep this up for another hour and a half? But we've had a very good a discussion here tonight, and I'm really appreciative of it. But
I am about toasted.
Yeah.
I've been talking for like 4 hours, and as you can tell, my voice is about gone.
Yeah, you did the atheist experience like right before this.
Your voice is fine, Dave, but your face is looking a little.
Well, I'm on my second bourbon, so, and I haven't eaten anything, so I'm gonna go eat.
Yeah. Well, I try to keep things to a minimum of 2 hours, and we're at about a minute or an hour and 45 minutes. So I think we'll start wrapping up here. I want to thank you guys so much for coming on. This has been a really good, productive conversation. I think a lot of good things came out of it. But before we close out, Steve, do you want to give one last plug as to everything that you have going on currently?
I mean, I talked about it in the beginning, so just see the
I like to
beginning.
close out doing, recapping.
Oh, well, TikTok, official Stephen Walker. And then from there, you can see all of my links in my bio. So that's probably the easiest way to find my stuff rather than just give everything. Just go to my TikTok, official Stephen Walker, and then I have a link tree. I'm not cool like you don't have a beacons. I have a link tree. So go to my link tree, and then you'll see all whatever I have available. So
I had a link tree, and then TikTok banned it.
Really?
So, yeah, because I had an OnlyFans link on there that was attached to Instagram, but they still banned it anyway, so I guess Beacons is better about that.
TikTok is not down with the ball showing?
Apparently not, yeah. But yeah, thanks, Steve, so much for coming on. I appreciate this.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Anytime.
Cool. Dave and Genevieve, you guys want to give one more plug about y'all's upcoming shenanigans that you plan on introducing the internet to?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm really excited. Dave and I are starting a podcast together. We will be live streaming on YouTube, just like this. It'll be that GD show for Genevieve and Dave and that goddamn show. We will cover lots of topics, not just religion, but current events, politics, and just talk to some really cool people that I am so excited to have the opportunity to talk to. I've always said, like, even if nobody tunes into this show, I'm just so stoked to talk to these people.
Yeah.
You know a lot of really, really cool. You know a lot of really, really cool people, and I seriously feel honored. And I think it'll be fun. So you guys should come watch and check it out. If you follow us on our TikToks, we will announce the official start date there, I'm sure. Or just keep searching on YouTube and crying until you see it pop up.
Yeah, I just followed both of you, so I'm good.
I'll follow you back, Stephen.
Cool.
We've got some really incredible guests that we're going to have on, and interesting conversations around those guests, and we're going to be taking callers, so that'll be interesting. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks everyone for coming on my show. I really appreciate it. This has been fun, and I look forward to whatever you guys have coming up in the future. Let me know if y'all need anything.
Absolutely.
And thanks to everyone in the comments for interacting and all that good stuff. Give me a like and follow if you haven't already. And thanks again. Stay tuned for fun things to come in the near future.
Thanks, guys. Good to see you. Bye-bye.
Y'all have a good night.
Yeah.
See ya.